Hi, it's good to see you all this morning. Welcome to What Women and Men Need to Know. We all love to eat. Sometimes we just can't decide what it is we want to eat. So today, because this is the beginning of summer, gardens, many of you have them. Mine's going to be a lake garden this year. Yeah, we need a lake garden sometimes, and this is the year for a lake garden for me. But I do have a garden. It's planted, and God's providing the rain for it. I don't even have to think about watering. We've had just such a plenty of rain so far. It's going to get off to a good start. So I think it's going to do well. My favorite things are in the garden. My basil is growing just so fast, and I didn't even have to plant the basil. It came up from last year. The seeds that were still in the barrel came back, gave me basil from the seeds from last year. Many things do, and we're going to talk about that. Things that come back, that's just like a little extra gift. But if you have tomatoes, you know my rule. If you have tomatoes, you have to have basil. And that means if you have tomatoes, and fresh basil, you can have tomato pie. That's something I'll be looking forward to this summer, is having those two fresh things in the garden. And I may, since I already have basil, I may be able to get some fresh tomatoes somewhere else so I can have a tomato pie before my tomatoes are ready, because it's going to be a while. I'm going to have the late crop of tomatoes when everybody else's tomatoes are waning. Mine are just going to be booming, so I'll still be able to have a tomato pie because I'll be able to get tomatoes somewhere else. I'm talking about the tomatoes that are grown right in our area, right here where we live, not shipped in from somewhere else, but right here where we live. So you may have fresh vegetables that you love and prefer too, things that you just can't stand to go without having in the summertime, and you just really love to eat all you can of that vegetable during the summer. The other thing is squash. Fresh, beautiful squash. Now, this came from my brother's garden, and he's way ahead of his sister, as you can see, and he shared his bounty with me, and I have some fresh squash, and they're so good. I've already had some, and I baked them in the oven. I steam them. I hardly ever fry them because I just enjoy them so much, either steamed or baked or broiled. They're just so good, and they're healthier for you too because you can eliminate a lot of fat. And these are nice, small, tender squash. I don't like those big. Some people let them get as big as your foot, these great big things. You could use them for some kind of club, I'm sure. The seeds are large. These are small, very tender, and I just split them in half and put a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper on them and put them in the oven and just roasted or baked them that way, and they were just wonderful. So you don't have to get anything fancy. You can just roast a whole pan full if you want to and put them in the refrigerator and heat them up for a few seconds in the microwave, and you have instant good food. So I'm going to be enjoying those fresh squash, and you may have fresh squash already. I also had some squash to come in the garden that came up from last year, and so it's a little further along than the squash that I put out. So I'll be looking at that. I planted that spaghetti squash last year. That's a fall type. We have usually winter and summer squash, and then the spaghetti squash is usually a fall squash. Mine did beautifully last year. I just didn't know it was going to take up so much space. It ran completely out of the garden into the yard, so it did take up a lot of space. But I did enjoy the spaghetti squash, and it did very well. So try something new. We need to eat more vegetables. We all need to eat more vegetables, and a variety of vegetables. So today we're going to talk about some of those things and what they are, because there are people who haven't tried anything beyond potatoes and maybe tomatoes. So we're going to talk about some of those vegetables and what they are, because normally we can get our meat down pat. It's either beef, fish, chicken, or pork, and we get that down pat pretty easily, but then we can't figure out what kind of side dishes we're going to have to go with it. So a baked potato seems to be the only thing we can figure out. So I want you to branch out beyond that. Think about some different things, some newer things. Get a little creative with your vegetables, because there's a million vegetables out there that you possibly haven't tried. And I want to encourage you to do that, because when you go to the farmer's market, you're going to find some things that maybe you haven't seen before. Because of our Hispanic population that we have, when you go to the farmer's market, you see vegetables that perhaps you haven't seen before. So try some of those things. It's very easy to get information and recipes for these different foods, both fruits and vegetables, and it's exciting to try something new. You may find that you actually like it. And it may be something that's been in the grocery store all along, and you've just never actually tried it. Avocados, one of my very, very favorites. Very, very good for you. Lots of antioxidants in avocados. I try to buy them when they're on sale, because I like to eat the whole thing. And so I try to buy them when they're on sale, and buy a lot of them, buy some of them that are real green so that they ripen as I eat them, so that the supply doesn't all ripen at the same time. I was in a store just the other day. I had to really search for one that was not overripe, yet they had not marked them down at all, like people were just going to continue to buy those at full price, and they were just going to be on hold at that ripening stage, and they weren't going to continue to ripen. And I thought, tomorrow they're going to have to throw all these away instead of marking them down to half price, so that people would buy them and they would only perhaps have to throw half of them away. So people in the grocery stores do strange things that don't make any sense to me. And maybe when you buy something like that, you don't know what the ripe stage is. But when you buy an avocado and you can make an indention, a really good indention with your thumb in that avocado, it's really overripe. You should be able to slightly move the flesh of that avocado, but not to make an indention in it. And especially if you're going to keep it for a couple of days before you eat it. So make sure you're not buying something that's already going on the other side of downhill when you take it home, because you're going to lose your money that way. Beets are another thing that are really being pushed as a superfood right now. You see those in magazines a lot. We in the South have been eating beets. Some of us have anyway. Others may have just been avoiding those beautiful dark red garnet colored vegetables because you may not know what it actually tastes like. Now, I'm not crazy about plain beets, but I do like pickled beets. They're very tasty. I like them very much. Another vegetable that, of course, we all know what broccoli is. We finally got really accustomed to broccoli, and Brussels sprouts. Most of us know those are the baby cabbages, the little small cabbages. But there's another kind of oval-shaped head of lettuce that's called Belgian endive, and it's just a different. It's like a head of lettuce you buy per person. It's a little firmer than regular lettuce. Sometimes I use that to put, instead of bread, I put my stuffing of whatever I was going to have in my sandwich on that. So look at things as a different use than you normally would. Instead of thinking about putting the lettuce in a salad or on a sandwich, think about it as being your bread. Lots of different uses for things. All kinds of cabbages that are available. We know, and we've seen a lot of those regular stuff like celery and corn. We're pretty familiar with those. Eggplants, a lot of people are still leery about eggplants because they don't quite know what to do with them. But there are many, many things you can do with those beautiful dark purple eggplants that have the creamy white skin on the inside when you cut them open. 7646. Go ahead with your question.
I don't have a question.
Okay. Go ahead with your comment.
Everybody needs to eat 5 portions of fruits and vegetables a day to stay healthy.
Right.
And eating fruits and vegetables in their natural state, like tomatoes and strawberries. Berries are good in antioxidants.
Right.
They help you get, the bad things out of your body.
Right. The free radicals.
All kind of berries does.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, tomatoes and green beans, and all that's low in calories. So when they eat more vegetables, they will fill their stomach up more, and they won't eat as much fatty stuff. And those 2 reasons, for the nutrients and for the low calories, is what makes vegetables and fruits good.
Right.
And it helps you, for vitamin C too.
But we need to eat more. We need to eat more vegetables than fruit, because fruit does carry sugar, even though it's a natural sugar. It's still sugar. So we need to eat more servings of vegetables.
I worked in food service for a long time,
Right.
And I learned this working in there.
Mm-hmm.
But people, if you'll eat your vegetables, like you could eat carrots, just wash them off good and peel them, and eat carrots, chew them up real good, and all. That's an excellent way of getting carotene for your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
and vitamin C. Root vegetables holds a lot of nutrients. And one thing about vegetables too, a lot of people don't know is like corn and potatoes. They're starches instead of like a vegetable. They're really a starch.
Right. They should be counted. If you were counting those, if you were on a diabetic diet, you would not count those as vegetables. You would count those as a bread.
A starch. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like in the bread category.
Yes.
Yeah, very
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yes.
And okay, well that's all I wanted to say, and I thought I'd put my little bit of knowledge in there.
Well, thank you for doing that, and it sounds like you already do that, and
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in food service for 35 years,
Mm-hmm.
and
yes, I used to do training for school
Yeah.
food service
I'm
employees.
not working in it now, but
Right.
that's how long I was in it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, and
Thank you for your comments.
all right, bye.
Bye-bye. And as she was saying, you do need to eat, and that doesn't mean French fries and tater tots and fried vegetable sticks. That means, as she said, eat the food in as near a natural state as you can, and that's why I was saying, instead of, you can eat that squash raw. You don't have to cook vegetables. You can eat them raw. Most all vegetables can be eaten in a raw state. Now, I was talking about eggplant. I don't think I've ever eaten raw eggplant, but certainly you could. I don't know how tasty that would be. Fennel is another very different vegetable. If you haven't tried that, you really need to. It has a very different taste. It has real feathery leaves. Actually, this is not fennel, but it almost at the end almost looks like this, real feathery. This is something else I'm going to show you later, but it's real feathery. It has a licorice-like taste to me, most unusual. A crunchy texture. It's real good in salads, but it's really good when it's cooked tender, and it's just a different vegetable that if you haven't, you need to make you a little checklist of things that you want to try and try to include those in some of your meals this summer, because now we used to have vegetables that were only available in the north and some in the south. Okra pretty much is a southern vegetable, but I'm sure now in the north it's available. But some things were only available in the south. And now, with the way things are, things are so available that now you can get things almost everywhere. We were talking about a pie, I'll tell you in a minute, it just left my head, that used to be something that was not really available here, but now it is. Rhubarb. Rhubarb pie is delicious. I love it. It is not something that's real common here because rhubarb is a stalk type vegetable. I think it's more of a vegetable than a fruit. It is a I think, and they make rhubarb pie from that. It's a beautiful red color, and that pie that's made from that is really great. But kohlrabi is another one. It's a light green, roundish shaped fall and winter vegetable. It has a crunchy taste, kind of like broccoli, and that's another one that you might want to taste. It looks a little bit like a turnip in the shape of it to me. Lots of leafy greens out there that are not turnip greens, but they have different names. Okra, of course, is now available in most areas of the country, not just in the deep south. Parsnips is another one that used to be available only in the north, and now we have parsnips available almost everywhere. You can't eat them raw. They're available in the fall and winter. They'll keep for a week or two, but that is a winter vegetable. It's like a cream-colored carrot, if you want a real basic description. Of course, we are pretty familiar with peas and potatoes, but one of my favorite is the sugar snap peas. They're entirely edible. I mean, I just eat them like potato chips. I don't eat potato chips, but I eat the sugar snap peas. They're so crunchy. You just eat them whole pod and everything, and they're wonderful. I don't eat them with dip on them. I just eat them plain without dip, and they're so good. Crisp, very, very vibrantly green, and they keep 2 to 3 days. Those to me are some of the best snack type foods you can eat. Again, the squash. I always grow straight neck squash. Invariably, everywhere you go to buy squash plants, they have crookneck. Now, if somebody can call and tell me why anyone would grow crookneck squash instead of straight neck squash, I'm a real common sense person. I'm really into common sense. If someone can tell me the reason why you would want to grow crookneck squash instead of straight neck squash, other than that's a preference. I'd like to know why it would be a preference. A crookneck squash has a bulbous base, and it goes out, and the neck crooks over, and the end of the neck is about as big as my little finger. And it gradually gets smaller to that little neck that's small. So you have, this does get smaller, but even at the smallest part, you still have a good bit of, flesh there. So all you have is these little bitty tiny circles if you cut it up at the end, and from about here down you don't have anything. I mean, you have to cut it off if you want significant pieces. So I cannot and never have been able to understand why anyone would want to plant crookneck squash. And the neck crooks down like this instead of being straight like this. So if anyone can call and tell me that, I would just be tickled to death, because I've never found anyone who could tell me. So I don't know, but that is the straight neck and the crookneck squash. And the zucchinis are summer squash, along with the acorn, the Hubbard, the butternut, and the pumpkin, and some others that are marketed in the fall and winter. But all the thin skin squash, like the zucchini, the whether it's the crookneck or the straight neck, are all can be eaten raw, and you see them sometimes on platters that are being served with other vegetables, are completely edible from a raw state. But the difference in the winter squash and the summer squash, of course, the summer squash have a 3 to 4 day period of time that they will last. The winter squash will last for a much longer period of time. So, and then of course you have the spaghetti squash, and that's the fall squash. So we do have the opportunity to eat squash many months out of the year. Now, another little clarification: sweet potatoes and yams. I can't remember where I was, and they had a sign up that they had yams. We do not grow yams in the United States. So if you serve sweet potatoes and you call them yams, you can call them whatever you want to, but it doesn't mean that they are. So if you call them your sweet potatoes yams, that doesn't mean that they are. We do not have yams in the United States, and sweet potatoes are not yams. Sweet potatoes are sweet potatoes. There are two kinds of sweet potatoes. There's the yellow type sweet potato. It's a pale yellow flesh. And then there's the more, they may be called yellow or orange, sometimes even red sweet potatoes. That's what more stores sell those, I think, than sell the yellow ones. They are moister and sweeter than the yellow, the pale fleshed ones. I'll just call them pale fleshed. And they have a much better taste. People call those yams. They are not yams. If you grew yams, you would not be living in this United States of America that we live in. So get your terminology right. We have two colors of sweet potatoes. One is a pale skin, one is that deep, one variety is that Mississippi, I think it's called Mississippi red. It is just deep orange, really deep orange colored. Beautiful, beautiful colored sweet potato. I love them, and I try only to buy those. Every now and then you may get one of those light colored ones thrown in there and it looks like it's anemic. They do not have the same taste nor flavor as the darker sweet potatoes too, and there's just a world of difference. So to me, that's always my choice, is the dark, not yam, but sweet potato. We do not have yams. Some people love turnips. Some people like rutabagas. Now, if you say, what is a rutabaga? A rutabaga is a type of turnip. I don't like turnips, but I do like rutabagas. They are usually white with some purple around them, really dense and hard to peel, and when you cook them, they have a waxy coating on the outside, and they are sometimes called sweet turnips. They may be called Swedes, and I really like them. I try to eat them at least once. They're sometimes very hard to find. You have to go to a specialty like Whole Foods or something to find them around here. But I do like the taste. They're really good. I don't really care for the regular turnips that you might have had before. And then what's in all of that salad stuff? What's in all of that salad stuff? That salad mixture you get, some of the things you like a lot, some of the things you may pick out to pull to the side. So let's quickly, before the break, go over some of the things that might be in that salad mixture. And some you may like more than others. Some you may have preferred to have a little bit in there, but maybe not the percentage that is in your mixture. One is arugula. Arugula, what a pretty word. It may also be called rocket because it has dark leaves, it's very pungent, it has a peppery flavor, it really adds a lot of pizzazz to the salad, and it may be adding more pizzazz than you would like. So if you're mixing your own mixture together, just one bunch of that in a large salad or a half in a small salad is plenty enough. Of course, cucumbers, I'm not a cucumber eater, but now there's a world of different cucumbers. There are English cucumbers and burpless cucumbers and whatever kind it is, you can hold my cucumbers. There are 4 basic types of lettuce, though. There's iceberg, which is what we call regular lettuce. That's that plain head, crisp head, and that's the plain one that you've always seen all your life. Then there's the butterhead, like Bibb, Boston, and one other that you may not be familiar with called limestone. They have those soft, loose leaves. Really, even the color sometimes is just a real buttery color. They have a mild flavor and a buttery texture. Then there's romaine lettuce. They have an elongated head and dark leaves. It gives the salad a real hearty taste. And if all you can get is that giant, which won't even fit in the bag, pass those up. Those can be bitter sometimes and very tough, hard to even tear, and look for the ones that are smaller. Then there are loose leaf lettuces like the oak leaf. They're good for color and flavor if you can find them. Sometimes they'll have a mixture and you can just kind of pick out what you want and make your own mixture together. There's another one that's called lamb's lettuce. It kind of has a nutty flavor. There's one called radicchio, and that's the little purple, looks like little purple cabbages. It's a little bit bitter. It has crisp leaves, and it gives that beautiful super color, though, in your salad when it's mixed with all the green. One small head of radicchio can be enough to put in 2 salads, so don't get carried away and think you're going to put the whole thing in there. We have radishes. We know what they are. We've had them forever. Scallions, those are the little green onions. Tomatoes, every kind of tomato, and that's another whole separate discussion, because all those little small tomatoes now, heirloom tomatoes that I grew last year, the black tomatoes that were just, oh, so wonderful. We call them cherry tomatoes, plum tomatoes, lots of different names, but the taste can just be phenomenal because they're all so different. Watercress is also sold in bunches that you can add. It's a real spicy flavor. And then, of course, other things that you can add to your salad as you choose. So think about that as your basis for your salad, and then there are all kinds of other things you can add to it. But right now we're going to go to a break, hear from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
A North Georgia taste of heaven, a fun place to be. And we're your family, you'll see TV.
For over 5 decades, your neighborhood ShopRite supermarkets have been the standard for quality and service. Locally owned means you'll find a smile on every aisle. Best meats at the best prices, farm fresh produce, and always weekly specials on a variety of products. Get the ShopRite seal of approval. Stop in and you'll see you can't shop wrong at ShopRite.
Week at ShopRite, they have bottom round roast, $2.99, whole pork tenderloins for $3.29. That's a good price. Strawberries, 2 for $4, and those Vidalia onions, ooh, add those to your salad, just 49 cents a pound. Now they also have a lot of things, 10 for 10, including Food Club sour cream or the Chobani Greek yogurt. Those are 10 for 10. A lot of other things. They have cupcakes and lots of other things, 2 for $5. A cereal sale, so it's a good stock up week. They also have a lot of fresh produce, including blackberries or blueberries, 2 for $5, and seedless grapes for $1.69 a pound. Cluster tomatoes for $1.19 a pound, and those green onions, 2 for $1. That's a really good price. They have 1 pound bags of baby carrots for 99 cents. And these are just a few of the many values you will find at your local ShopRite store, where they still take your groceries to the car.
The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The next best time is right now. The same rules apply to financial success. Saving money is the first step towards financial independence. And at the Bank of Lafayette, we have an investment account for every situation. How much you save is not nearly as important as establishing a regular pattern of saving and placing of your money aside in a safe and secure place. Whimsical thinking and immediate gratification can rob you of a financially secure future and a safe and comfortable retirement. At the Bank of Lafayette, we can help you choose an investment account that will help you reach your immediate, short-term, and long-term goals. The one rule that always applies across every economic timeline and condition: the sooner you begin saving, the faster your money will grow. Bank with confidence at the Bank of Lafayette, your hometown bank for more than 110 years. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
At the Rosewood Assisted Living and Memory Care, we have everything your senior could want in a safe, comfortable residence. Several levels of services include short-term housing for weekends or longer, assisted living where the staff provides a watchful eye while preserving your loved one's privacy and dignity, or independent living where residents are able to take care of themselves yet have access to all amenities and a sense of security. And the Rosewood on Battlefield Parkway specializes in memory care for patients of Alzheimer's or dementia. Call today for a tour of our campus.
Meta-Thrift Pharmacy, located at 324 West Patton Street in Lafayette, across from the ShopRite. Meta-Thrift Pharmacy provides prescription drugs, including compounded prescriptions. They also have diabetic supplies, including custom diabetic shoes. They have lift chairs, potty chairs, shower seats, and other durable medical equipment. Meta-Thrift Pharmacy in Lafayette has a friendly, well-trained staff that will help you with your drugstore needs, whether you're on the phone or in the store. You may also leave your refill request on their automated phone system, available 24 hours a day. Make them your choice for your pharmacy needs. Meta-Thrift Pharmacy, 706-638-3114.
We're back now. We were talking about all the things you can add to your salad, all the vegetables that are available, and I challenge you to go down the grocery aisle, and this is a really good time to do that. When things are in season, it's the time to buy them. We don't want to be buying a lot of tomatoes in the winter. First of all, they're not fit to eat, and secondly, they're sky high. So this is the time. Pull out all your recipes that you want to try with fresh tomatoes, fresh squash. This is the time to try those, because if you're buying these things, I notice the farmer's market is open, so you can be buying these things at the best prices, getting the maximum in quality for these vegetables. So this is the time to try these recipes, and there are so many. If you don't have recipes, go online. That's a good place to find good recipes. Go to the library and look in some of the books that are there. Find good recipes, try those things out, and try out something new, including an ingredient. You don't have to tell your family what it is. If you don't point it out, they might not even recognize that you have included a new ingredient in their salad or something that you haven't tried before. But it's a really good time to try it out when it's on sale. Now, there are a couple more things I wanted to, because I always have more to bring to you than I can cover. So there are a couple things that I wanted to cover while I'm here today. And the other thing, I know a lot of people have unsweetened tea because that's how some people choose to make it or buy it, and then you add your own sugar to it. And you try to add granulated sugar, or I discourage you from using the blue and pink packets. I just think if you're using sugar substitutes, it's just not a good thing to do. So I'm offering this as an easy substitute for you to get the sweetener in your sugar, the sweetener made from sugar, but it's going to be something that sweetens easily, and you're not going to be using as much sugar. But making a sugar syrup, and you can keep this in the refrigerator, depending on how the proportion of sugar you use, it determines how long it's going to keep in the refrigerator. But a sugar syrup is it's called a simple sugar. Or a simple syrup, actually. It's made from sugar and water, and it's heated gently until all of the sugar molecules from the granulated sugar are broken down and dissolved completely in the water. You're not boiling because that would take away some of the water, and you don't want to boil away any of the water. It's just a gentle dissolving of the sugar. And that simple syrup has a number of uses. It could be used for a glaze, for a cake. It could be used for sweetening any kind of drink. And it could be the basis, of course, for making some kinds of candies. But we're thinking today just about sweetening your tea so that you can have sweet tea to the exact sweetness you want it. when you put that into your unsweetened tea, it's already dissolved. That sugar is already dissolved, and it's going to immediately sweeten that tea with no residue in the bottom. Every bit of the sweetness you put in there is going to mix with that sugar, and it's going to totally sweeten that cold tea when you put it in there. Nothing's going to be left. You've already dissolved that sugar. It's now a syrup. That syrup blends with that liquid, and it's totally to the level of sweetness that you want it. So you're going to be using much less sugar than you would be if you were trying to sweeten it with the sugar dish and granulated sugar. So if you want to try making it, it's just simple. And it is a percentage. So to make a simple sugar, it's either 1-to-1 or 2-to-1, and that just simply means you use 1 cup of sugar to 1 cup of water. That's the 1-to-1, and you just mix that sugar into the water, gently heat that, and stir it until all of that sugar has dissolved. No boiling. Please do this over low heat, stirring gently until that sugar is dissolved. And then remove it from the heat, let it cool. And what I would put it into is, if you have some kind of squeeze bottle, something you can, press to dispense, but you want to make sure that that is totally disinfected before you put it into, so that you have no bacterial growth whatsoever. So make sure you put boiling, scalding water on that so that you're going to make it completely clean, and pour the water out, and then put your cooled syrup into that, put it into the refrigerator. Then you can take it out and just dispense it that way. You don't have to put a spoon into it or try to pour it out of something where it's going to spill, because it will be very sticky. The next formula will be a 2-to-1. So you would mix 2 cups of sugar to 1 cup of water, and you're thinking, that won't work. Yes, it will. The sugar will dissolve. As the sugar dissolves, it makes liquid, so it will be a thicker syrup, but it will dissolve. The thicker the solution, the longer it's going to last. So I think the latter recipe I gave you will keep up to 6 weeks 6 months in the refrigerator. Now, not sitting out on the counter, but in the refrigerator. You take it out to use it, return it to the refrigerator. The other one's only going to last for a couple of weeks. So don't make up more than what you're going to use in that time. And if you've ever tried to make homemade lemonade, the real homemade lemonade where you squeeze the lemons yourself and do it the old-fashioned way, and you tried to put the sugar in there and dissolve the sugar, and most of the sugar stayed in the bottom, and you had to re-stir it every time, and you just kept putting more sugar because you could never get it sweet enough. This is the answer. You just use the sugar syrup and sweeten your lemonade, and it's all dissolved. It stays in solution. It doesn't sink to the bottom. Once it's in there and stirred in, you don't have to stir it up anymore. And it's going to be sweet until all of that wonderful lemonade is gone. So it makes great lemonade. You don't have to deal with all of that yucky packaging from the blue packs and the pink packs and whatever damaging results could come from that. But you can replace the sugar in a more useful way so that it's going to be easier and it's going to sweeten much better and much more effectively with your sugar syrup, and that's just called a simple syrup. That's what it's called. If you just keep it if you make the 2 to 1, keep it in the refrigerator all summer, that would allow you to sweeten. People who use unsweetened, it would allow you to sweeten your sugar all summer. So it's a good thing to have on hand, especially, if you drink unsweet, you want to have something on hand for people, or you just like just a tad of sugar, just a little bit of sugar in something. It just allows you that option to have just a little bit of sugar in something. And it's very, very easy to do, and it works every time. Another thing I want to, on the 21st, we'll be doing food preservation, so mark your calendars for that. And the So Easy to Preserve book has been updated, and there's one that has a few additions. And so if you would like to order one, you can go online to So Easy to Preserve, www.soeasytopreserve, all no, nothing, I'll run it all together, dot, dot edu, I guess. And it will pull up this information. It tells you all about the So Easy to Preserve book. And everything about the book. And that's kind of a gray print, so it's not so dark on the monitor for you to see. But this is what you will get. Over on the right-hand side, you can click on an order form, a publication order form. The top's a little bit clearer. And there are several publications that are for sale publications from the university. But down toward the bottom is the So Easy to Preserve. And these are available on DVD and lots of different forms. My brain was wired to a book, so that's how I prefer to have my information. But you can actually get a DVD or a book. And if you wanted to order, if your group wanted to order, the whole group wanted one, if you order as many as 12 or more, you can get them for $3 cheaper. They're $18, but if you order 12 or more at one time delivered to the same address, you can get them for $15 each. Now, I don't know anywhere where you can get a book has this much information in it. And this is not what Aunt Susie said or Grandma said. This is research-based information. This is done from research. It's not going to make you sick. It's going to cause you to have great success in your canning, freezing, jams, jellies, drying. It covers everything in here. It gives you diagrams, shows you how to do. It doesn't just tell you, it actually has diagrams in the book. This particular one is on drying. It shows you different methods of drying fruits and vegetables. So it takes you through a step-by-step showing you how to do each aspect of food preservation. And here's one for summer squash. Tells you what you need to do to how long to blanch the squash, how to package it. Everything is in this book. If it's not in this book, you can't freeze it. You can't do anything with it if it's not in this book. But it is covered. It's very comprehensive. They have tomato salsa recipes. They have ketchup recipes. Everything is covered in this book. So if you're interested in having one of these, $18 would bring one to you. That includes the shipping to you. And you know, if you order anything pretty much online anymore, $5 to $7 is about the least amount that you can get anything. If it's an ink pen, it's going to cost you $7. And this book has, let me see, 376 pages. So it is a heavy book. So the $18 covers the shipping to you. So if you're interested, there might be some other books or things that you would want to purchase also, and they're listed here, but you can look at all these and see. They have one of native plants of North Georgia, all kinds of things that you might want to. These are for purchase. And this just tells you how to order and that. But you can get that by going online and order your book so that by the time your garden comes in or you get ready, it won't take very long for it to get here. It tells you, breaks down how to freeze more than 150 different foods. So I don't know where you would find a more comprehensive book, and I know that you won't find one that is research-based, that is comprehensive like this book is. So that's the information. Some extension offices do have some books on hand. I would call before I went down expecting that. I don't think they have any in the Walker County office. I haven't checked with Charles. He said something about ordering some. I do not know if he has done so or not. But that book is available. It's a great price, so I hope that you will get one, and it makes a wonderful gift. So I wanted to show you this plant. This is called, and it's wilted a little bit, this is called a hummingbird vine. This will wrap around anything. If you stand there long enough, it will wrap around you. But it starts out, it looks like a little helicopter when it comes out of the ground. It has two little leaves on it, and then it starts to grow and changes into this very leafy, soft texture, and it starts to run, and these tendrils start going. So you have to put something up that it can run, some kind of pole or something. A good thing to put is to put a pot beside it and then put a pole with a hummingbird feeder on it, because they love it. When it starts to flower, it has small trumpet-shaped red flowers on it. It will just be filled with those trumpet-sized red flowers, and the hummingbirds it's just perfect for their beaks to go in. So I always put a hummingbird feeder right there, and they love it. And if you once get it, it will come back every year. 7712. Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. What was the name of that book? I just turned the TV on and
Okay.
I was watching you, and I didn't know the name of the book.
It's So Easy to Preserve.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. And it's put out by the Cooperative Extension Service at the University of Georgia. Dr. Elizabeth Anderson, she has been here on my show before. She is the author, along with some other, Dr. Judy Harrison with the Foods Department, and Susan Reynolds, who was a former Extension specialist, and she went on to work with another entity and who have contributed in the past, but Dr. Andrus is the main contributor to that book.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. As a matter of fact, there's a southern, see if I can remember what it's called, the Southern Food, if it's in here, the Southern Food Processing Center. It is, I can't even remember where it's located. My brain's just gone out. But Elizabeth is the director of that also, and it's all of the universities that come together and bring all of their expertise together and work on these issues of food preservation so that everything is kept up to speed. And Elizabeth is in charge of, she's the head person at that center as well. So she has a lot of credibility in her area. I have time for about one more question. If anybody has a burning question, something that you need to know, and then on the 21st we'll be doing food processing. Sometimes it's very confusing these days with all the things that are out there that you don't know what to buy. So we'll be covering some of those things on the 21st. And Rick's just said I can't talk anymore. Gotta go. So I'll see you again. Thanks for watching, and be safe.